Valentine Day is coming up, and if you want some art to post or products to sell, time is kind of running out. With the holiday season, some people have been extra busy these last few days, so you may want some quick and easy patterns to create. If so, I've got you. Let's create 3 different Valentine's Day plaid patterns that you can whip up in just a few minutes. First up, we're going to need a color palette. While you may want to select a shade and just play around with the saturation and brightness of it, I highly suggest we play around with hues as well. So as you can see, the 3 shades we have down in my palette are variations of the same exact color. But what I do enjoy to do to give some depth to my patterns is I will select this middle color I like. Every time I go down in brightness and increase my saturation, I'm also going to change the hue a little bit. We're going to do this one more time. And as you can see, we already have a range of colors as well as the basic shade. So it's not just the same shade altered a little bit. As you can see, we really add depth to our palette because not only are we altering the shade we initially start with, but we also add some more hues to play around with. You're going to see the difference it makes in the patterns, and it's really a great way in general to apply shading to your illustrations. So I'm going to go back to this middle color. And this time when I go lighter and maybe less saturated, I'm going to move my hue in the different direction. So I'm going to go cooler with these. So as you can see, there's quite a big difference in between the first 3 colors and the second 5 I created. So we're just going to get rid of these first. And this is basically the palette I'm going to play around with. Now, with these shades, if I want to play around with how light or dark they are, I can. But you will see we will get to a way more interesting color palette to work with. So here we have the color palette we're going to play around with for this tutorial. If you're wanting to create different colors or use the tutorial for any other reason, holiday or whatever, please feel free to use the same technique again. All right, so pattern number 1. You're going to start with the base color of your choice. It really doesn't matter which shade you really want to use in this case. So now we're going to go to our actions, canvas, and toggle on our drawing guide. You can go to edit drawing guide if you want more explanations on how this works. You're going to stay on the 2D grid. This will allow you to create straight lines in your pattern that will make it seamless. We do have to adjust our brushes to this specific setting for it to be seamless. So I'm going to show you just how to do that. And if you save those modified brushes, it's fantastic. You're going to be able to use it whenever you want to create a seamless plaid. Now, let's talk about brushes. If we go to my brush I've already adjusted for this kind of project, you're going to see I have a fill brush and I have the same fill brush with no pressure to it. You can see the preview is quite different. As you can see, the fill brush has a taper at the beginning and the end of the stroke, while the fill brush no pressure does not have that taper. This is what we need to make sure our lines are always seamless. Because if we just use the fill brush as is, you're going to see a big gap in between the different thickness you can achieve with this here. So this is going to make creating a seamless file extremely difficult with straight lines. So let's fix that and create a no pressure taper brush. So you're going to go to the brush you want to use for the project. In my case, I'm choosing my fuzzy fill brush because I really enjoy textured brushes, but you can choose any cleaner brush you would like. It really doesn't matter as long as this particular setting is respected. So I'm going to duplicate the fuzzy fill brush, and I'm going to start by just writing up here that it is a fuzzy fill brush, no pressure taper. So that's going to make it obvious which brush it is. Now we have to go to the Apple Pencil settings, and you're going to change the pressure size to 0%. If you do not do this, you're going to encounter problems when it comes the time to repeat our tile. So this is an extremely important setting. And it is the only setting you really have to fix with a brush you like. So let's press done. And now we have a brush without a pressure taper. We now have to create a new layer and we need it to be assisted. If your assisted little text is not written there, you're going to press on the layer and toggle on the drawing assist, which is the one with the check mark right now. This is necessary or else your straight lines will not be perfectly aligned from one edge to the other edge of your canvas. With my no pressure taper brush, I'm just going to go ahead and draw a couple lines. Easy as that. Now, what I want to do with these is I'm going to lower the opacity. You can do this however much you want, but I'm going to go with 70%. Now, we're going to duplicate this section and rotate it by 90 degrees. We're now going to place however we feel is right. In this case, since I want quite a symmetrical plaid, I'm just going to put it almost at the first square after the edge. Now, what you're going to realize by zooming in is that your lines, when they cross, will create these darker squares. If you want this to be more intense, you do have to lower the opacity of each of your layers. Like this is 55%. Like this will have more of a bigger look on your project. You can also always choose to change the color of one of the two sections. Like if you want to do so, you're going to select another color you would like, unlock your layer, and fill it. Then you are going to have to lower your opacity again, but this is going to create a nice little gradient square thingy. In this case, I'm going to up my opacity again just because I like it to be more opaque in general. If you want to, we can merge those two layers together. We're now going to duplicate these and mirror them just so you get a full pattern. At this point, if you want to, we can merge everything together and toggle off our drawing assist. You can also go to your actions, canvas, and remove the drawing guide, as this will remove the grid from your canvas. So, in my opinion, this makes it easier to figure out what the hell is going on. Now, if you want to, you can add more lines to your design. If so, you have to toggle your drawing assist back on. Or you don't even need the grid, really. If you want to, you can just add a new layer and get your drawing assist on. If your last drawing assist was the 2D grid, it should work. So now I'm going to choose a red here. I'm going to up the size of my brush a tiny bit. And I'm going, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. I just wanted one stroke. So I'm going to make one and I want it to be centered. I'm going to lower my opacity again here to 65%. Or maybe a bit more. I'm going to put it to 75. And I want to get across like this. At this point, I'm happy with this basic plaid, so I'm going to merge everything together. And this is our tile. Here, if you want to, you can just go ahead and repeat your tile as is, and it will make a straight square plaid. In this case, for this particular design, I want to have a diagonal plaid. So, how to do this is you're going to press on the selection tool, rotate by 45%, and fit to canvas. Then you're going to duplicate your tile 4 times, so you have 5 copies, and you're going to go ahead and drag each of them to one corner. Make sure to see the orange lines to make sure you are aligned with the corner and that your tile will actually repeat. Once you've done this for the 4 corners, you have your first Valentine's Day plaid. You can merge everything together before we export this and upload it anywhere. we are going to want to make sure that our tile is seamless. To do so, you're going to duplicate it 4 times, and we're going to bring each of them to a quarter of our canvas, like so. Again, make sure the orange lines appear. It will show you that you have aligned to the center of your canvas. Then you're going to zoom in and make sure you do not see any seam in between your tiles. In this case, it's all good, which means our initial pattern is seamless. And that's as easy as that. You have one of your 3 plaid patterns ready to go. Those of you who know my art style will say, Saki, this seems quite simple. Where's the texture? Well, you're not forced to add texture, but in my case, you know me, I do add texture. So if you don't know how to do so, you can go ahead and create a new layer above your finished pattern. Then you're going to go to Files or Photo, wherever the texture file you want is. I'm going to go with this kind of marbly luxury white texture, and I'm going to make it the same size as my canvas. Make sure that the texture you use is seamless as well. This is super important. Now, you can either use multiply or overlay, whatever you feel fits your design best. In this case, I do like the fact that the overlay makes it lighter, and I'm going to lower its opacity just so it's not too overpowering. So now you have a super cool textured Valentine's Day plaid pattern. And this is the final file I'm going to go with for this first pattern. So let's get to pattern number 2. This one is going to use quite a similar technique, but we are going to add texture to it in a different way. So this time, since we started with a light pink, I think I'm going to start with my darker red here. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to choose my monoline brush and use the same drawing assist as we did earlier. So I'm going to go to Canvas, Drawing Guide, and it should still be my 2D grid. So I'm going to add a new layer and assist, and then I'm going to select my, let's say this kind of medium pink color with my monoline, and I'm going to make that size bigger. All right, what we're going to do here is going to be a tiny bit different. I want to create not only a regular square plaid, but I'm going to add texture to every single stroke I create. So first off, I'm going to just create 2 lines and center them. Again, orange lines means you are in the right spot. I'm going to go ahead and fill this, and I'm thinking about it. I think I'm going to change my background. I'm not feeling this dark red. I'm going to go for a dark raspberry instead. That feels better. So I have this first stroke completed. I'm going to lower my opacity to about 70%, and we are going to play around with texture. So I will remove my drawing guide right now just for the sake of the tutorial, but if you're more comfortable with it, keep it on. What we're going to do here is we're going to go to our layer here, and we are going to create a mask layer. If you don't know how a mask works, white means it's showing, black means it's not. So on this layer, you're going to only use black, white, and grays to adjust your things. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select a gray, and I'm going to select a texture I feel is super cool, like this blotchy one here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the assist here, and I'm going to use my blotchy texture all over this here. So it's going to create a interesting texture to my layer. If I want to at this point, I can make it more opaque. I can change the original shade. You can do whatever you want really at this point. In this case, I'm just going to make it brighter. So you're going to have texture in your stroke, which is a super interesting way to add depth to your pattern. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this here. And with this here, I'm going to also flip it just so the texture isn't quite the same everywhere. At this point, I'm going to merge these two together. And I'm going to do basically the same thing with a new color and smaller strokes. So I'm going to go ahead and toggle on my drawing assist, select this kind of warm, hot pink, and I'm going to go back to my monoline here. Again, mask everything, lower the opacity on your initial color, and I'm going to go in again with my blotchy color and apply to everything. If it is creating lines like this and you cannot draw as you would like to, it means your drawing assist is still on. Undo what you did, remove the assist, and restart. Now you're going to be able to apply your texture wherever you want it to be. Again, I think it's too light, and I'm going to toggle on my opacity back. I'm going to merge everything here, duplicate it. Whoops, I meant to duplicate and just move one. And I'm going to merge it down. Again here, I'm going to duplicate it, rotate it, and I think I'm going to keep it that way. At this point, I again think that my background layer is kind of too similar to everything else. So I'm going to change my background color and make it darker, but not red, like darker, but still pink. Now you can merge everything and we are going to test our tile. So again, 4 times to have 4 copies and bring each of your copies to one corner of your canvas. Orange lines, good. You're going to hear me talk about orange lines on this channel quite a lot. So get ready. If you're not, you will be. So again, now we have a problem. And this is exactly what I wanted you to see. If your texture is not seamless, this is what will happen. You will see obvious seams in everything you're going to do. So we have 2 ways to fix that. Either you only use seamless things in all of your files and you never go against that. Other technique is to add more lines, which is what we're going to do. I'm going to show you how to do that. You can select and delete 3 of the layers and bring this one back here. The problem is the edges of the canvas. Let's fix that. We're going to create a new layer. In this case, I'm going to use a lighter pink. Again, monoline brush, toggle on your drawing assist, and just create one line of whatever thickness you feel like it. And you're going to duplicate it 1 time. So you have 2 of them. And we need to keep this one opaque. This is extra important. In this case, you can keep it opaque like this, or you can still apply texture to it. We're going to make that choice a bit later. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our line and we are going to put it halfway through the border. So you just have half of it in there. The second one, you're going to do the same thing on the other side of your canvas. Again, orange line in the middle of your line. Then we're going to merge these two together and rotate. So we have a square outline around our canvas. We can merge these again. You know me, I like texture. We're going to add texture, but only after testing our tile. So we're just going to merge this together. And now we can test our repeat again. So you're going to bring each to one corner. If you're happy with this the way it is, perfect, fantastic, keep it as is. But I do not like having this straight line without texture. We know our tile is now seamless because we went over those specific areas where your texture is showing a seam. Let's go back to our tile here. We want to apply the texture to only this outline. So again, add a clipping mask and go find the texture you would like to add. In this case, I'm going to go for this one because I think it fits really, really well with the rest of my design. And it do be seamless. So we're going to multiply or overlay, whatever you feel is best for your project. In my case, I'm going to take the multiply and lower the opacity. Now we can merge everything together. And again, test the tile. You would much rather test the tiles often than not test them and show your customers stuff that is not working properly. So now we have a seamless tile with texture, and that number 2 is done. So we already have 2 out of our 3 patterns ready to go. The third one is going to actually be the easiest, in my opinion, yet it has quite a lot of personality as well. So let's get to it. What we're going to do here is super, super, super easy. I'm going to start with a almost white background. I'm going to go with a really, really light pink here. And we are going to again get our drawing assist on. Let's go with this bright pink we started with. And again, let's go with the monoline because in this case, it's all about texture. Really nothing else. So I'm going to go ahead and create a large rectangle, place it wherever I feel like it, lower the opacity to about 80%. Then you can duplicate this one and place it where it feels convenient. In this case, all 4 of our sections are going to be different colors. So if you want to, you can just duplicate it, place it, and do the same thing again. So now we're going to alpha lock 3 of our 4 different rectangles. To do so, either you can click and select alpha lock, or you can swipe right with 2 fingers on the layer you want. Now we're going to select different colors and just fill our alpha lock layers. Now I'm just going to remove the grid. And as you can see, some of our layers, for some reason, have not went down in opacity. So I'm just going to fix that. Oh, maybe it's because of the alpha lock. I would have to check. So I'm going to put everything back to 80%. I'm going to apply texture here to every single element. You will see why in just a moment. So to each layer, including the background, we are going to add a clipping mask. And we're going to apply the same exact texture to each one, but we're going to move it around a tiny bit just to keep it interesting. So we're going to go to our files, select our texture. Oh, in fact, I'm not in the right one. In this case, we are going to use my textures. I created this tweed linen texture. If you don't have it and you don't want it, perfectly fine. Use whatever feels best for you. But if you would like this exact texture for your designs, It is available on my website, and I will drop down the link if you want to go and grab it for yourself. You will get two versions of this. You will get the original one and the diagonal one. In this case, I'm mostly going to play around with the regular. So we can go ahead and select overlay or multiply, whatever feels best. In this case, I like overlay much more. And I'm going to duplicate it. If your background color is really light or really dark, you can always duplicate your texture and lower the opacity. You can see the difference here. This is one layer and this is a second. It just adds to the contrast of everything. But you're not forced to use it if you don't want to. I just personally like it. And now we are going to add the same texture to every single one of our sections. Now, it doesn't really matter if this exact section is not perfectly placed in the middle. This is just going to add like some randomness to our design, which I personally like. You can also rotate it if you'd like. You can do whatever you want as long as the edges stay on the edges. If you go too big, it will no longer be seamless. If you keep it edge to edge, my texture is seamless, so you will not need to worry about that. So again, this one, I think I really like the overlay for these. So that's what we're gonna go for. For this one, I'm actually gonna go multiply, I think. You can play around, choose whatever between overlay and multiply you like best. You can always change your rectangles as well as you go. So this is quite repetitive, but I think it's a really interesting pattern to play around with. So I do really like this. I like this one. All right, here I feel like these two squares are kind of too similar to my liking. So I'm just gonna go ahead and change the color of this one. This is too dark. I kind of like this. And as I said, you can always play around with your blending modes for it to become whatever you would like. If you see that your squares are no longer overlapping in this way, that means your opacity is back to 100%. So bring it back to 80. So this would be our final tile. So let's just go ahead and merge all of these bad boys together. And again, test out our tile. Bring it to each corner. And as I said, my textures are seamless. So you should not have any seams here. As you can see, even though you can see the difference between each line, everything looks great. So again, if you want to keep it straight squares like this, you can totally do so. But I do love a good diagonal plaid. So that's what I'm going to go for. So again, you can rotate it by 45 degrees, click to canvas, and duplicate it 4 times, and bring it to each corner with your orange lines. So here we have our third pattern. So here we have it, 3 simple plaid patterns in just a few minutes. you now have something to apply to print on demand, to your Etsy store, to digital product store, to whatever you want to apply it to. Go ahead, have fun, and enjoy your time with these. Again, if you want some resources such as the tweed linen texture we use in our third pattern, please consider checking out my website, which will be linked in the description down below. You will find various artist resources, textures, seamless patterns, whatever, if you want to add to your commercial print on demand stores or anything. There is no extra fee. You can also find some physical products with my art or my cosmetics business. So that's definitely a possibility. If not, I encourage you to watch this other video that I will link in the corner. That is my trailing floral seamless pattern tutorial. I really had a ton of fun. You can realize that my face is not on there. That's normal. That was my PNG tuber era. And obviously now I have a face. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.